All right, everyone's here. The witness is on the stand. Bring the jury in, please. Okay, everyone be seated, please. All right, we're ready to proceed with the cross-examination by Mr. Donatone.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I proceed, sir?
Yes.
Mr. Jones? Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I tend to mumble or drop my voice. If I do that and you don't hear what I say, please tell me.
Yes, sir.
Okay? You and I have never met before today, have we?
No.
You and I have never had the opportunity for me to talk with you about this case.
No. No.
Or the opportunity to talk about what we're going to say in court today.
No.
And that's the way it often is. On the contrary, though, you have met with the DEA and the FBI and the U.S. attorneys on any number of occasions, correct?
Yes.
Oftentimes with your lawyer, correct?
Yes.
And in fact have met with them, and properly so, to prepare you for your experience in court today.
Yes.
Correct? How many times would you say, tell the jury, that you've met with the US, any federal or state authority about this case since your arrest?
Like 6 times.
6 times?
Yes.
Including this morning?
Yes.
And before this morning, when was the most recent time that you met with them?
Like last week.
And was that in preparation for the trial?
Yes.
In those 6 times, give or take, that you met with state or federal authorities regarding your testimony in this case, were you always told to tell the truth?
Yes.
Each and every time?
Yes.
Why?
Because
You know?
that's the best thing to do is to tell the truth.
Well, was there some question that you wouldn't tell the truth?
No.
Okay. Mr. Hall, I'm sorry, I apologize. Mr. Jones, I want to talk about a number of items, and not necessarily any order that came out on your direct examination. But one area that I want to talk to you about is an incident, and we'll talk about the incident that happened at 2722 Kane Street in a moment. Mr. Walker responding to someone being in his house. Remember that one?
Yes.
All right. There was a time either before or after that when you and someone identified as Shady, and for the jury, Shady's a nickname or street name for whom?
Shaitan Adams.
Shaitan Adams. That you and he, or you and he, on your own, or on his own, were requested by him to give you a gun, give him a gun, which you got a gun that was yours, not necessarily legally, but yours stashed at 1306 Perkins, correct?
Yes.
Gave it to him, correct?
Yes.
Because in his view and your view, perhaps, other people were trying to cut off sales,
Yes.
correct? And shots were fired.
Yes.
Were any shots fired by you?
No.
Did you have a gun?
No.
Did the gun that you gave Mr. Adams, Mr. Shady, was that your stashed weapon
Yes.
from 1306?
Yes.
Was that at the time, sir? When was that, by the way?
I don't remember what exact time it was.
Well, can you give me an approximation?
Not really.
Can you give me a year?
Not really.
A season? Hot, cold, spring, summer?
It was nice outside.
Pardon me?
It was nice outside.
Okay. But the year you can't say.
No.
But you're crystal clear as to the event.
Yes.
Even though you can't even tell us what year it was.
Yes.
And this event that happened when it was nice outside in some unknown year was Mr. Adams saying, "Let me see your gun," which you took as saying, did I say Mr. Adams? That's the correct John?
Yes.
Thank you. Say, "Let me see your gun," which you took as meaning, I want your piece, I want your gun.
Yes.
Did you know what he wanted it for?
No.
You just gave it to him?
Yes.
You went into the stash house, right?
Yes.
Where you had a gun secreted.
Yes. Yes.
You were the only one who knew where your gun was.
Yes.
So when you say that people would leave, and if I'm misquoting you or misparaphrasing you, let me know. Paraphrasing means summarizing. When you say that people would leave their guns around, not necessarily on them, but in close proximity and close access to them,
Yes.
that doesn't mean that your gun would be in a place where if I was down there with you, may know where it is, right?
No.
Okay. It was secreted.
Yes.
Right.
It's stashed.
So if you had your gun stashed at 1306 Perkins, it was to be your secret.
Yes.
That's why Cruz couldn't go get it and just say, "Hey, I want to borrow it," right? I'm sorry, I thought Adams.
Yes.
Okay. And that's why if you had drugs stashed in that house, which you had from time to time, correct?
Yes.
Or on the yards or in the bushes or trash cans, potato chip wrappers, it was your dope, your drugs, your stash place, correct?
Yes.
So if it were in 1306, you didn't have it for community property, so to speak. It wasn't for anyone else in the case or in the cutoff to go get if they needed pieces or weight, correct?
Yes.
That was a stash house where everybody tried to have their own little compartmentalized hiding place.
Yes.
And then you heard shots fired.
Yes.
And I'm talking about in this unknown year.
Yes.
Okay. By the way, were you smoking marijuana during this period of time?
Yes.
Have you smoked marijuana pretty much since you were dealing it?
Yes.
Every day, right?
Yes.
But you never used crack?
No.
Did you ever use powder?
No.
Okay. But you did use weed, as you referred to, or marijuana every day since you were a teenager.
Yes.
Do you think, sir, that the use of marijuana, by the way, do you drink
Yes.
every day? Pretty much?
Yes.
Okay. To the point of being drunk?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think, sir, that the use of an illegal drug, marijuana, every day since you were a teenager, and drinking to the point of intoxication from the year 2000 forward, is that fair to say that you were drunk every day from 2001?
Yeah.
Do you think that may have impacted your ability to recall and recount events accurately?
No.
You don't think that the use of marijuana every day and being drunk every day for a decade impairs your ability to think?
No.
All right. When the shooting took place, and I'm assuming you were high and drunk that day, right?
It was daytime.
Right.
Yeah, so I wasn't drunk. I was high.
You were drinking.
I was high.
Okay, you were high. When did you usually start drinking?
Late in the evening.
Okay. During the end of business hours, so to speak.
Yeah, you can say that.
I
Yeah.
want I want to know if you'll say that.
Yeah.
So that you were high, had been drunk the night before, and there's this number of shots fired, right?
Yes.
And Shady supposedly tells you this is because Calvin and Jamar were interfering with the sales at the cutoff,
Yes.
right? Did you have any information yourself that they were interfering with sales at the cutoff?
It was said a couple of times that they was cutting money off from coming up the alleyway.
By who?
People from the cutoff.
Who?
Everybody.
Everybody.
Yes.
Sir, on direct examination, you've oftentimes said everybody or everybody in the indictment.
Yes.
If we can, in my examination, let's try to be specific, if you can, with respect to who said and did what. We've already established you don't even remember what year this was.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But you do recall other people down there on Perkins Street saying something about these two men, Calvin and Jamar, cutting off money.
Yes.
Who?
I can't really say nobody's name right now, but that was a conversation down there that they was cutting money off.
All right. So you don't recall who it was?
Yes.
You don't recall if it were people in the indictment or people who were down there, right?
Yes.
And Whatever happened, happened. Shady Shoes. By the way, what happened to the gun then?
He gave it back to me.
And what'd you do with it?
I put it back up.
Back in 1306?
Yes.
Did you reload it?
Not at the time.
Later?
Yes.
Where'd you get those bullets?
I had them stashed in the house.
What kind of gun was it?
45. Coke 45.
One of the ones that was on the photographs?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
And you got that gun from where? Was that one from Rainier?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
The other gun that you showed that you said was yours, you got where?
From Butch.
From Butch
Earl.
Fulton?
Yes.
Did you pay those guys for those guns?
I paid Earl.
That's Butch Fulton?
Yes.
What'd you pay him?
I think like $400.
Are you guessing?
$400.
Okay. And when was that?
After police ran in the house and took the 4-5. I don't remember exact time it
No, I'm
was.
not gonna ask you for exact time. I apologize for that. After the police ran in the house and took what?
The 4-5.
The 45?
Yes.
When did the police take the 45?
I don't got an exact time. Like,
Year?
don't remember.
Month?
Don't remember.
Winter, summer, fall, spring?
I think it was fall.
You guessing?
Yes, like fall. Like
You're-
the fall.
It was
I think
fall?
it was like the fall.
So the police took that, the 45,
Yes.
and then you got what was the other one, a 38?
The 9.
Pardon me?
9.
The 9 millimeter? And you got that from Fulton,
Yes.
and you paid him.
Yes.
The gun that was seized, the 45 that you got from Rainier Kennedy, did you
Yes.
pay him?
No.
How'd you get that?
Traded
What?
guns.
Traded guns?
Yes.
What did you give him?
A 9.
A 9. All right. You traded him a 9, got a 45, right?
Yes.
Lost the 45 to the police, and then bought another 9, or traded for dope,
Yes.
right?
For money.
From,
I bought the gun for money.
I apologize, $400.
Yes.
And then did you keep that gun stashed in the stash house?
1306.
Pardon me?
1306.
1306. Same with it looked like I'm minimizing it, a handheld Derringer, 22, perhaps single shot,
Double shot.
double shot. You said you got that from a customer.
Yes.
Because sometimes when the customers came down there, they were so desperate for the product that you were selling, they would bring items of interest.
Yes.
Sometimes guns,
Yes.
sometimes TVs,
TVs.
sometimes TV games, PlayStation 3, I'm not,
Yes,
kids
yes.
know this out there. PlayStation 3, stuff
Yes.
like that, right? And you said, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that a lot of people, unnamed people, took items in trade.
Yes.
Did you do it on more than one occasion?
Yes.
So you took the gun on one occasion. What else did you get? You ever get a TV lugging around down there on
No, I
Perkins
ain't never
Street?
get no TV. I got some game systems.
I'm sorry?
Some game systems.
Game systems?
Some body washes. Boost mobile cards. That's all I can think of right now.
All right. By the way, did you operate off of a cell phone when you were, at any point during 2003 to the time of your arrest?
Yes.
And was that cell phone given out to your customers, that number?
Yes.
Did other people down there have cell phones?
Yes.
And in fact, one of the materials we have from a meeting that you had, do you remember meeting with the federal prosecutors, DE agent, and perhaps Agent Carr from the FBI back in December of 2009?
Objection. His counsel's using someone else's document. I don't object if you're asking the question first, but I
Yeah.
object if you're just gonna.
Do you remember meeting with them?
Mine.
It might have been one of your first meetings.
Yes.
Well, let me withdraw that question. During any of the meetings, let me ask you this. Did other people down there use cell phones?
Yes.
And did those people include, according to you, Eddie Walker,
Yes.
Najee Harper,
Yes.
Reggie Freeman,
Yes.
Earl Fulton,
Yes.
James Jones,
Yes.
Shatan Adams,
Yes.
Aladdin Cruz,
Yes.
Craig Evans, who's, by the way, your
My brother.
brother,
Yes.
Gary Harris,
Yes.
Jamal Muhammad,
Yes.
Brent Hall,
Yes.
Clyde Hall,
Yes.
Thomas Evans.
Yes.
I'm
Thomas
sorry,
Jones.
I apologize. Thomas Jones, who is also a
My
relative
cousin.
of yours,
That's my
right?
cousin.
cousin, and Kareem Shahir,
Yes.
Scooby.
Yes.
Right? So pretty much everybody that you've been talking about, according to you, had cell phones.
Cell phones, yes.
And those cell phones would sometimes or oftentimes be given out to each other, right?
Yes. What
So
you mean,
you could-
give
right?
out to each other?
So you could talk to each other,
Yes.
even though you were hanging on the same 3 streets pretty much all the time, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You also gave these out to your customers,
Yes.
some of whom you know to have been stopped by the police.
Yes.
You know, some of whom you know now to be having set you up in a lawful fashion.
Yes.
All right, we've seen the video. All right. Now, back to the shooting. When that took place, that was, correct me if I'm wrong, Shady doing his own thing.
Yes.
In other words, he didn't have to get permission from any organizational structure. He didn't have to get permission from anybody in the world to do what he did.
No.
And in particular, he didn't have to get permission from Eddie Lee Walker, right?
No.
Or anybody else in this case.
No.
It was every person for themselves, protect the territory, right?
Yeah.
Protect the sale. My sale, right?
Yeah.
Because when Shady Adams started shooting at people, tell me if I'm wrong, it was Shady Adams' desire for the dollar that led him to start shooting at people, correct?
For cutting money off, yes.
Yes. His money. Or money that,
Money that was coming,
entitled,
money that was coming through the cutoff.
of which he would be entitled to something
Yes.
in his view.
Yes.
Otherwise, quite frankly, he's got no good motivation to shoot him.
Yeah.
Or shoot at him. Eddie Walker didn't even know about that shooting before it took place, did he?
No.
In fact, you don't even know if Eddie Walker knows about that shooting until you mentioned it in court today.
Not do I know of.
Because you didn't mention it to the, if you did, tell me if I'm wrong, you never even mentioned it to the FBI when you spoke to them.
Yeah.
You did?
No.
Not until today was this fact ever brought out, right?
I told them about the case, about the situation.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
Okay, prior to today.
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember when it was, during which meeting that you told them about this shooting?
No.
Was it before last week?
Yes.
You were selling drugs on your own as a young guy, as a young person. Powder and then marijuana back at the William Penn Project.
Yes.
And is that where you lived at the time?
Yes.
With your family?
Yes.
Mom and dad?
Mother.
Just mom. And then from there, I think sometime in your mid-teens, Mr. Jones, you moved over to Highland Garden.
Yes.
And at some point, you befriended a lot of the men who lived and grew up there,
Yes.
right? I mean, you've been, how old are you now, sir?
It's 29.
29. You've been there for 14 years, give or take?
Yeah.
Okay. Eddie Lee Walker was there before you got there, right?
Yes.
And Highland Gardens, as you know, is a small, relatively small neighborhood. Right?
Yes.
All you guys sort of grew up together, for the most part.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it would not be unnatural or uncommon or unusual for you to hang out together.
What
Right?
you mean by that?
Pardon me?
I said, what you mean by that?
To hang out on the streets, to go get tattoos together, to go get a beer together, go to the city grill, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, we hang out.
You were neighborhood chums, right?
Yeah.
You brought the ability to deal drugs with you, or the know-how with you,
Yeah.
from William Penn.
Yes.
And initially, you, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, were up in the area, or down in the area, I'm trying to mislead you, of what used to be Boyle Street.
Yes.
And there was a photograph of that.
Yes.
Were you selling drugs at Boyle Street with Boyle Street in, and I could get my dates wrong here, in the early part of the 2000s? Maybe I could ask it a better way to help you out. Do you remember when it was, if you do, when you moved from selling drugs up on Boyle Street down to Nolan, Perkins, Schwartz?
I don't remember the exact time.
No, I'm not asking you. Give me a year. Do you have a year?
No.
Spring, summer, fall, winter?
I can't really say.
When you came down, were you selling weed or coke at the time?
What you mean? When I came
I'm sorry,
down?
when you moved from Boyle Street down to Perkins
Down.
and the surrounding street,
Selling powder.
you were selling powder.
Yes.
and you were getting that powder from sources outside of the Perkins Street neighborhood, correct?
Yes.
So you had the ability to acquire powder cocaine on your own while you were up in Boyle Street, right?
Yes.
Did you know what was referred to as the Boyle Street Boys?
Yes.
Jermaine and Vincent Williams?
Yes.
A guy named Rogers?
Yes.
Who else was up there? Shane Taylor? Did you hang with them? Did you run with them?
Yes.
Did you hustle with them?
Yes.
Did you know they were indicted?
Yes.
Were you indicted with them?
No.
You conspired with them, didn't you?
I was brought up on that.
Pardon me?
I was brought up for questioning on that.
Okay, and you were brought by the federal authorities to this building or some other building?
Yes.
Okay. And did you deny your involvement?
No.
Told them the truth?
Yes.
Told them you were conspiring with Boyle Street?
Yes.
And you weren't indicted?
No.
Did you testify in that case?
Yes.
Okay. And you got a pass?
Yes.
So in exchange for you conspiring with Boyle Street and testifying in that trial, right, you got, for your crimes of distributing cocaine with a group of guys, some of whom conspired to kill a federal witness. You know that, right?
Yes.
You know Tracy Saunders,
Yes.
right? You knew him.
Yes.
You got a pass.
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor, there's like 6 questions
I know.
in there.
All right. And then you were indicted in this case.
Yes.
You got the indictment, correct?
Yes.
Because from your experience in Boyle Street, you knew how the system worked a little bit. I'm not suggesting in any fashion that you're supposedly, that you, not that we have any great inside knowledge, but you're not perhaps as doing this as day-to-day as we may do it, but you knew how the system worked a little bit, correct?
Yes.
You had seen the Boyle Street case unfold, right?
Yes.
You saw what happened to those guys,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And then you were indicted in this case.
Yes.
You saw the indictment, right?
Yes.
You have read the indictment.
Yes.
You've seen the discovery, correct?
Yes.
You've read the discovery.
Yes.
Thousands of pages of documents, correct?
Yes.
An indictment is 60-some pages long, correct?
Yes.
You saw that there were overt acts in there, things they said, the government said that they said they could try to prove, correct?
Yes.
And you knew that you were in a world of trouble,
Yes.
right? Because you were on video, right? You knew, were afraid that other people would do to you what you did to others in Boyle Street, which was talk on you.
Objection.
Well, I'm asking,
Overruled.
Yes.
okay? So you said through your lawyer, properly so, or on your own, I want to make a deal.
Yes.
And I will tell you certain things about certain people, right?
Tell you the truth. Yes.
And, well, and we'll get to the truth, including Eddie Lee Walker, correct?
Yes.
And when you got the indictment, you saw that there were a list of names in a certain order, right?
Yes.
And it wasn't alphabetical.
Yes.
Eddie Lee Walker was the first name on that indictment, correct?
Yes.
And Eddie Lee Walker was someone who you say you were close to,
Yes.
like father, like son,
Yes.
right? You're 29.
Yes.
Do you know that he's 32?
Objection, assuming
I didn't know his
evidence of
age.
fact that are not in fact. You can ask him, does he know his age?
Do you know how old he is?
No.
Do you know if he's significantly older than you?
I know he was older than me.
And then when you began to start cooperating, you started talking not only about, as you perhaps were obligated to, your own drug dealing, correct?
Yes.
But also your allegations, your statements about others.
Yes.
And with respect to Mr. Walker, initially, you were getting, while Mr. Walker was in Perkins Street, or in that area, Kane or Perkins, or living in the Highland Gardens, you were getting your powder from, and I say powder meaning powder cocaine,
Yes.
from Brahim Smith
Yes.
and Eddie Lee Walker, right?
I was getting it from Brody Smith at first.
I'm sorry?
I was getting it from Brody Smith at first.
Roddy Smith?
Yes.
Is that the same as Brahim Smith?
Yes.
Was he a Highland Gardens person?
Yes.
So you were getting it from him, right?
Yes.
You had the ability to get from him. Were you getting it from anyone else at that period of time?
Not at that time.
Okay. And then at some point in time, you make the transition from Mr. Smith to Eddie Lee Walker.
To David
I'm sorry.
Jones. To David Jones.
I'm sorry, there was some, you're right. To David Jones.
Yes.
Also a Island Gardens person?
Yes.
So you could get powder from two sources in the garden. Raheem Smith,
Raheem Smith went to jail.
he went to jail.
Yes.
Okay. So then you needed another source of supply,
Yes.
and you knew right to go to Mr.
Mr. Jones. Yes. David Jones.
David Jones. And then how long did you deal with Mr. Smith?
Until he went to jail.
understand
I don't know
that.
how long.
Not long?
From when I came down to cut off until he went to jail.
Can you give me a time frame?
No.
Can you give me an estimate? Not a
No.
guesstimate, but an estimate?
No.
All right, and then Mr. Jones, he
Yes.
became your supplier immediately thereafter?
Yes.
Because Mr. Jones was dealing powder at the same time Mr. Smith was, wasn't he?
I reckon so. Yes.
They were sort of competitors, weren't they?
I don't know.
But you knew right to go to Mr. Smith.
Mr. Jones.
I'm sorry, I apologize, Mr. Jones.
Yes.
I'm not doing that on purpose, I'm horrible.
It's all right.
Where did he live?
Where did he live at the time?
Yeah.
I don't know the name of the street. I just know where it's at if I see it.
Is it in the gardens?
No.
Oh, it's not in the gardens, I thought you said he did.
No. He wasn't living in the gardens at the time.
He did not live in the garden at the time.
No.
Smith lived at the garden before he went to jail?
Not that I know of.
Okay, I misunderstood. Your dealers, Smith and Jones,
Yeah.
were people who you got drugs, powder, outside of the gardens.
They was from the gardens, from the cutoff.
They were from the cutoff.
Yes.
Did they live in the gardens?
Not that I know of. No.
So they were active in the cutoff, but lived outside the garden.
Yes.
Who gave them permission to deal?
They original from up the way, from a long time before I came up there.
So they were originally from Island Gardens?
Yes.
Do you know that for a fact?
Yes.
And then, why'd you stop dealing with the second supplier?
With Dave, because Eddie Walker came home.
Came home,
Yes.
and what year was that, about 2003 or 4?
I don't remember what year it was, but I remember him coming home.
And had you known him before he wasn't around here for a while?
Before he went to jail? Did I
Yeah,
know him?
before
Yes.
he went to jail.
Yes.
And he went to jail for, you know why?
No.
No conspiracy charge on that case, was there?
Objection.
Not doing.
Well, sustain. Sustain to the form of the question. He doesn't know.
All right. He came home.
I mean, you can ask him more questions if you want to.
I'll move on. He came home, and I'm sorry, did you say you knew him before he had gone away?
Yes.
He came home, and you started dealing with him,
Yes.
and you started dealing in powder, right?
Yes.
And it was, and I'm not for 1 minute minimizing these amounts, but it was eight balls, quarter ounce, 1/8 of ounce, 1/8, 3.5 grams, right?
Yes.
Quarter ounces,
Yes.
right? And on an occasion, a half ounce
Yes.
of powder.
Yes.
And you've given us the amount of money that cost.
Yes.
Do you remember those amounts specifically?
Of the powder,
Yeah.
100 for a ball game, 200 for a quarter, 400 for a half.
When was it that you started buying those quantities for those prices from Mr. Walker?
When he came home.
When was
I don't
that?
remember
You
like
don't
how
know.
long it took after he came home, but when he came home.
There was a period of time after he was back in the gardens during which you did not deal with it.
What you mean?
And he sort of had to get acclimated to coming home. Sort of had to get used to getting home.
Yeah, you can say that. Well, yes.
Did you tell us on direct examination that during some period of time, and if you can remember that period of time, tell us that you were buying up to, or buying about a quarter ounce of powder cocaine every other day from either Walker and or Smith? Well, it'd have to be Walker and Smith separately because Smith was in jail, right?
What you mean by every other day?
Every other day.
Nah.
No?
I know. What you say? How much?
Up to a quarter. ounce of
Yeah.
powder
Yeah.
every other day, sometimes